Good evening. I'm Sister Sandra Music, Abbess of the Boston Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence for the year 2021. Tonight, the Boston Sisters wanted to mark the one-year anniversary since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. We can't help but look back on the year with a sense of loss. Over 117 million people worldwide have contracted the virus, and over 2.6 million have died because of it. Most of us have had our lives turned upside down, whether from losing our jobs, juggling a job and childcare, not being able to meet up with friends, or having to navigate mental health challenges exacerbated by the pandemic. It's been a rough year for everyone. There have been positive moments as well, but tonight we need to focus on our grief, our anxiety, and our sense of loss. You can't focus on the silver linings when you're in the midst of the storm. Right now, we must give voice to our pain and allow our hearts to break open. Weep for those who passed away without having their loved ones by their side. Cry out for those who have lost their battle with mental disease because they couldn't see a light at the end of the tunnel. Rage against the unfairness of a society that would allow people of color and the poor to shoulder the lion's share of this burden. Once we have emptied our hearts of the pain and the sadness, then we can fill them up again with thanks. Give thanks to the medical professionals who have worked tirelessly to save as many lives as they could and to provide comfort for those they could not. Give thanks to the countless frontline workers who went to work not knowing if it would be safe for them to do so. Give thanks to the educators who had to find new ways of educating our children. Give thanks for everyone who did their part to stop the spread of the virus and to keep others safe. Most importantly, give thanks that this nightmare will soon be over. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. If we can hang in there a few more months and continue to take care of each other, we will once again be able to meet in person. We will be able to go outside with less fear, be able to hug dear friends, and navigate together the path forward. I hope you find solace in this shared experience this evening. Know that you are not alone and you always have a sister by your side, even if only virtually.
Playground closed. In March 2020, when schools and playgrounds shut down, my kids were devastated. When you grow up in a city, playgrounds are an extension of your yard. So in a way, it was like our backyard had disappeared, our world severely contracted. Spa day and getting lost. We tried to keep ourselves busy within the confines of our home. There were days when we pampered ourselves with freshly painted nails and oatmeal masks, and days when we immersed ourselves in books and movies to escape our reality. Some things remain the same. Each day, the adulting to-do list grew longer and longer. At the height of the pandemic, my husband would return home from the grocery store masked and prepared to wipe down any surface, doorknobs included. But after a few weeks, these activities became the norm, no longer fazing the kids. Laundry day. During the summer, we had a brief respite from the lockdown, and we were able to enjoy many of the season's usual activities. At times, we even forgot that beyond our fence, the world was still in crisis. But at the end of the day, signs of the pandemic were all around us, reminding us that they were, and still are, barriers to the outside world. Some things remain the same. Photography has become my therapy, my way to process what I see in the world. I am drawn to people and their environments. I seek to photograph children honestly in their joy and awkwardness and irritation and boredom. My recent work uses a documentary approach and intentional portraiture to tell the story of my family during the COVID-19 pandemic. Some things remain the same as an ongoing project documenting my children's experiences during the COVID-19 pandemic. Home became the center of our lives for safety, for connection, and for entertainment. We built rocket ships, put teddy bears in our window for the neighborhood kids to find. ran through sprinklers, and had a spa day. Wearing masks, we wandered empty neighborhood streets looking for signs of life and chatted with friends from our front porch. We tried our hand at home haircuts for what will probably be the last time. Zoom fatigue hit hard, and we wondered where to keep our ever-growing mask collection.
A scream requires breath. My mother died as COVID began, though it was cancer, not COVID. Death begat death, and the disease that steals breath next took 2 friends from the spring. This thing that surprises. We rich, we safe, meet our demises. In spite of the fact we're American, sacrosanct and untouched and unbent. Our luck has been rent, torn and dismissed and totally spent on our greed. Did we think, no, not us. It can never be us. It is us. Our turn to burn, self-immolation. Lit by our luxury, birthing, and apathy, Trump was a pathogen we must not have again. How did we get here? Ignorance and fear of people we do not think of as we think of ourselves. Chinese virus, liberal hoax, black bodies, brown bodies. We are all folks. Freedom from pestilence requires vigilance. Freedom from oppression requires vigilance. Freedom requires vigilance. Vigilance requires education, education, education. Defeat pathogens, employ teachers. 111 367 393. 118 390 287. 125 411 823. 214 475 828. 225 498 208. 226 500 349. 227 500 2171. Stop me before Julia dies. Stop me before Kobina dies. Stop me before Eric dies. Let us rise.
Within a bubble. Inspired by the events of the current COVID-19 pandemic, I began to photograph the emptiness of our neighborhood and how this condition has impacted our family's life. The world we knew, our habits, our social life, all have changed in one day. We have found ourselves reclused into our homes with no contact with the outside world. Outside, all was quiet, and while spring was approaching, the only colors we could enjoy were within our home. As everything moved to virtual spaces, we had to adjust ourselves to new routines. No school, working remotely from home, and no physical contact with the outside world. We lost our freedom. We felt protected only inside our home, wearing masks or by practicing social distancing, feeling safe only within our bubbles. From here, I started to photograph my family and our surroundings through a glass. The images try to represent our life as we imagine them from within a bubble, which is the only thing that may keep us safe. Will this become our new normal?
Hello everyone, I am Guard Dominique Trix with the Ladies of the Lakes, the Minnesota House of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, and I would like to do a poem/statement that I wrote about COVID and how it has changed and both the seriousness and kind of the follow-through of joy over the past year. So, without further ado, joy died. It died behind closed doors and on hospital floors. It died in hands gone still and ventilators suddenly silent. It died on the cold, refrigerated trucks and chilly earth of mass graves. And the silence that filled the space where joy had been oozed under every door and laughed that you were among many and yet you were alone. Like fire, the virus burned, and us the trees. Ash rose to the sky on fear and grief, and silence asked, "Where is your joy now?" But it was joy that answered. I am not as you remember me, but I am living still, in the light off water as each hand is washed, in every breath that is caught by masks of many, many colors. I am the song of Venice, the howls to the moon. I am the birthday car parades and the Halloween candy shoots, Christmas Zoom calls, toasted with sparkling champagne flutes. I am the endless hours, the hands that stocked the shelves, every researcher pushing onwards, the nurses who returned sick to well. I am the defiance of suffering who stands beside the graves. I am with you as you move from grief, the flower that blooms from flames. I am not as you remember. I am changing still. But I could not be stopped by silence, and I never will. This has been Guard Dominique Trix. It's been an honor. May 2021 bring you all the joy you deserve and a little more.
Artist statements from Diana, Cheren, Nygren. For the last 11 months, the world has been in the grip of a health crisis unlike any experienced in my lifetime. Just Another Alice is a series of shadow boxes through which I explore the feeling of being trapped at home while struggling to find joy and hope. During the pandemic, we have been locked down, our movement has been restricted, and travel has come to a standstill. For months, I have barely left my home. I feel a little crazy at times and struggle to hold on to ways to find pleasure. I have built a small room to embody the space I have been confined to over this period of time. The image in each box shows that space, inhabited by a single empty chair, and the traces of those activities to which I look for solace. Through the window of that room, I remember travel as a way of looking to the future. The shadow box itself makes concrete the sense of confinement in this space. Objects from within the images spill into the space of the box and bridge the space of the viewer and that within the image. We all have our ways of coping. One way or another, we will seek to bring light into the walls that confine us. With these images, I indulge in small pleasures and look beyond the walls to memories of past trips and promises of new experiences. I dreamed I stood before a palace. We visited the Palace of Versailles on a perfect day. The gold on the gates and the palace set off by the bright sun, blue sky, and fluffy white clouds. Even the crowd was more of a sketch of wonderful vignettes than an oppressive mob. Like the wonderful Madeline outside the window with her straw hat, round schoolgirl collar, and red satchel, I imagine myself at home enjoying an afternoon drink, wearing pretty shoes and sunglasses, sun streaming in the window. I dreamed I walked the streets of Paris. Much of this photograph is about symbolism. The motorcycle driver is like the courier, whisking packages back and forth. My life has become a series of UPS and Amazon shipments, delayed USPS shipments, and grocery deliveries. Everything is brought to me while I stand in the same place. Outside, everything is still, but there is also a sense of life rushing by while we go nowhere. The movement of the motorcycle seems to convey everything that is missing right now. The colors of the packages echo those of the world outside the window. And yet my favorite part of the scene outside is the stick figure that has been drawn on the do not enter sign. The whimsy, the joy of that little drawing makes me infinitely happy. It is a little visual gesture and artistic joke, certain to induce a smile. I dreamed I walked the walls of the old city. You can't visit Dubrovnik without taking the obligatory walk around the old city walls. I have watched Game of Thrones, and walking these walls has a surreal quality. It is easier to imagine that this is where they filmed the show than it is to imagine the real-life figures who first walked there hundreds of years ago and what life might have been like then. But as I walked, I noticed this gentleman on his balcony, shirtless, his laundry on the nearby line. In a city full of outsiders and fictional stories, it was a moment of pure authenticity and a peek into the genuine way of life as part of a community in which privacy is not fiercely guarded. I often imagine how wonderful it would be to live in such a place. As much as I have spent the lockdown closed in my own house and cut off in ways I have never been before, I think I have also let down my guard a bit around my community. I am more likely to step out without makeup or in pajamas and slippers. I grab every outdoor moment I can on a balcony or porch, glancing over at my neighbors in their yards or on their own porches. No one seems terribly worried about exposing themselves and their lives out in the open. We have bigger things to worry about. I dreamed I was at a wedding in Croatia. The last trip I took overseas was to Croatia. Dubrovnik is a breathtaking city, yet all of its beauty was colored somewhat by the massive crowds of tourists and the seemingly angry and overwhelmed demeanor of the many locals in the face of these throngs. One day, however, this lovely wedding party breezed past us. Their sheer happiness was so fitting in this incredible place. As I sit, confined in my house, and drink a glass of bourbon, looking at the fresh flowers my husband has brought home, I can't help but marvel at how simple it is for life to be satisfying. Here, with my family, I truly have everything I need.
Blessed be the scientists and researchers who develop and test vaccines. They will help save humanity from a virus that knows no borders or discrimination. Blessed be the healers who help us deal with profound grief and loss of our loved ones, and even how we used to live. They get us through stages of denial, depression, anxiety, and even survivor guilt so we can celebrate life and love. Blessed be the AIDS, HIV pandemic survivors who did not for years have mainstream or governmental support. They show the light of how to survive and thrive at a time when we are told not to touch, kiss, or be sexual beings. Blessed be all the healthcare workers and support staff who dealt with unimaginable disease and death while coping with limited personal protection equipment. They are everyday heroes who are seeping positivity into the face of mortality. Blessed be the essential workers in all industries who kept our lives on track when much of it seemed out of control. They stabilized the food industry, kept our streets open, public services working, and delivered our mail and packages. Blessed be the activists and social justice seekers who patriotically work to build a better life for others. They show us that not only do Black lives matter, but that we are all better for calling out racism and other isms for the systematic damage done. Blessed be the myth makers, the dreamers, the dream catchers, and story time tellers. They illuminate our reach for the future by showing us a path forward while honoring our shared histories and legacies. Blessed be each and every one of us who carry trauma in our flesh and bones. We are made of cosmic stardust and are our own complete miracles, perfect in existence and built to withstand a pandemic. In the name of all the love and all of the joy and the most holy spirit of patron saint Harvey Milk, ah women, ah men, ah the trans folk, ah those yet to decide.
Meg Birnbaum, Little Sorrows, Little Joys. I made these images during the year of COVID. I thought about the separation COVID brought and thought about how the outside world felt scary and not very clear. The photo, Crow Talk, is about that inside-outside dilemma. Is it safe? Blue Butterfly came about while thinking about hope and simple everyday surprises. Iaritza and the Fireflies was about the same thing, miracles and hope and the joy of ordinary natural magic. Tendrils came about by getting away for a few hours and discovering a secret swimming hole. Water is so cleansing and comforting to me. I discovered a dead baby squirrel in the street and thought of so many people alone in hospitals, separated from who and what they knew, so I made Sweet Squirrel and then buried him with love and respect. Photographing helped me carry me through the strangeness. I was alone with my dog for all of the last year, and because of him, I had to go outside a couple times a day. Fresh air and exercise helped me to feel more connected to the world and to myself. Teaching twice a week helped immensely, and the classes felt like a community. Many students said that the Zoom meetings were the bright spot of the week. In the last year, we have lost over 525,000 friends, family members, and loved ones in the United States, and over 2.6 million worldwide to COVID-19. We invite you to join us in a moment of silence to remember, celebrate, honor, and mourn those who are no longer with us. This moment of silence can be a reflection, a contemplation, a prayer, or meditation. You can leave your eyes open or you can close them. There are no rules. Please use it in a way that resonates with you, allowing us all to connect as we acknowledge the tremendous loss due to COVID-19. Thank you for joining us.
There was a figure of a woman with brown hair, so close to catching me. She was an angry figure, and I couldn't tell if I trusted her. At some moments we were together, and others we were against each other. She asked me, "What are you afraid of?" I said, "I don't know." "So why do you run?" "I don't know. I just don't." "Look at me and tell me what you are afraid of." "I guess I'm scared of the water or maybe drowning." I looked over and my only escape was jumping off the bridge across the train tracks into a body of water. She asked me, "What are you afraid of?" My life had always involved taking care of others, but this entire year I had so much time to myself. What was self-care? Enjoying a margarita? Doing face masks and hanging outside in the sun? I have the privilege to give myself these small pleasures, but time felt slow. I began to have these vivid dreams. I would wake up in cold sweats, crying and feeling hopeless like that young girl again. These are things that happened in my past that I chose to hide in the very deep part of my mind. But these are traumas you can't continue to ignore. Sometimes I dream of this beautiful, still, glowing water. I want to jump in, and I know things will be okay, but I always hold myself back. This year forced me to face myself. I finally had the mental space to understand that I'm worthy enough to take care of myself. I am too in need, and that doesn't make me weaker. It is only a stepping stone to finally do something for my younger self and my future self.
And before we end this event tonight, we'd like to invite you to a primal scream. We'd like for you to dig into those emotions that are weighing you down into this turmoil of the past year. And from there, in this primal scream, release these emotions into the ether, into our Mother Earth, who can take care of these emotions and dissipate them so they can no longer bother us. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Thank you for joining us for this online event. With this, I hope some emotional release was attained for each and every person that has watched this. Again, I hope at this point, now that it is 2021, we can all move forward together and safely. Thank you and good night.
On behalf of the Boston Sisters, I simply say, we love you, we adore you, we respect you, we protect you, we serve you. We are your sisters.